Howdy y'all. We're going to work on the D4 today, but I don't think we're in the right place, so hang on just a minute. Well, that was weird. But anyway, we're going to get the pillow blocks and the outer bearings installed on this D4. And before we do that, we need to modify the tool we use to press them off. So stay tuned. Dad's over here looking at our service manual on how to install those nuts and how to tighten them. And what did we find out?
Well, I finally found it after you get your sprocket pushed on with the proper tonnage. It says tighten as tight as possible with Cat's part number spanner wrench, and then lock it by bending the locks over. And that's it. So you just tighten it as tight as you can get it. That's it.
Well, we can do that. I'm over here on the welding bench, and I'm going to rig something up to press this. And this is our tool that we use to press on the sprockets, and it's going to be the same principle with something inside here. Fortunately, we had the foresight to make this big enough to do that. So all I need is a piece that'll slip in here, kind of like this one would for our sprocket press, only it's just a little bit too big. So I found a piece of steel here. I think this is 1/2 inch. I'm going to make it out of, and cut that out with the torch. And it'll come out here, and I'm just going to reuse this same plate that we used here for the sprocket press and popping off the steering clutches. So we're reusing this block quite a bit. Looks like we're going to have, I'm going to go ahead and make it about 3 inches wide to fit inside there. Because we previously bent 1/2 inch steel, I found a piece of 5/8 that I'm going to use right here to make it out of. Dad's got the lock on, and he's putting the nut on here. This lock was missing a couple of tabs, but we should be able to use a couple of the other ones that haven't been used.
Find something that'll work.
And they say in the book, as tight as you can get it. I'm going to put a drop of oil on those threads because it's going pretty hard. Now you're spinning the lock washer. Probably want to line it up.
So we should probably lock that one right now so it don't turn.
Yeah. Now you can finish with your spanner. I thought they said as tight as you could get it with the...
Well, we don't have the Caterpillar 5F 20 whatever part number wrench either, which I assume would probably have a lot longer handle on it.
Well, you're going to have to go around or go to the next one, or we could use this one.
Well,
right
we
there.
could. Well, I'm not tight enough yet, I don't think. Is that down on there?
Yes.
I don't want to bust my chops. Oh, that's feeling nice and tight now.
Yeah, I don't think that thing's going to go anywhere.
Oh, she's tight.
A little bit more. If you could go a hair more, we got a good lock right here.
Okay.
There, hold it. Oh, that'll do it.
It's tight. Ooh, we went a little far, didn't we?
No, you're all right.
It's going.
It'll actually be good. It'll be right up against it. And you can give this one up here another love tap, just to make sure it's seated.
There we go.
As far as this side, second verse is the same as the first. That's my 3 inches width. I'll clamp this on here to give myself a guide to cut it nice and straight with the torch. We're going to be about 1.5 inches in, and that'll be my hole. Put the nut on. 5.5 inches in. Should give me my center. Going to need about 1.5 inches. Circle torched out here in the middle. Got that cut. As soon as it cools, I'll clean this up with a grinder. So this one will fit. I got it cut out good. And I've been debating, because this is so thin right here, I might actually weld a couple of gussets on it, just to be on the safe side. Before I do that, I'm going to take this over on the drill press and drill those out, but you guys have seen that before, so I'm going to skip it. It was probably completely unnecessary, but I went ahead and welded some gussets on this push plate piece, just for insurance. I know we needed it before. I'm not going to go anywhere near the pressures that we used to put the sprockets on. When fully assembled, it should look a little something like this. Cleaner's cleaning, and this is one of the bearing cage assemblies off of 7J. And the reason we're cleaning this up is because we want to take it apart and see exactly how you adjust it. Because we can read in the book and we can't really understand the way that they have it adjusted.
It's somewhat vague.
They say to unscrew the nuts on the end on each side and tighten the big nut all the way around on there. And that's supposed to set the preload on the bearings. But we can't figure it out. Taking these nuts out of here, we're doing a little exploratory surgery on here to see exactly how this can possibly adjust the bearings. You loosen that and tighten that nut and it'll preset the bearing? I don't really know. I don't understand.
I don't either. So, do these...
And this is the big nut that turns.
Do these tap up?
They can't. They can't come out.
No, not up. Just up a little bit to free it. You see what I'm saying?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Truly bewildered by this design. And something else that we learned, because I went in and I dug out another book for 5T.
Oh yeah, look. Just light taps. They move.
And I wonder if we should have left the nut on, and then you tap them up. And then
no, I think they only go so far, and then it freezes. It's probably got a slot machined in the bolt in there that holds that, I would assume.
It's kind of a bizarre design.
But yeah, that moved them up about a half an inch.
So that book, the older book I pulled out, it's got totally different procedures for pulling the sprockets, for pressing the sprockets, for pressing everything else on, and for doing this. And this is why I went and got it, because this is completely different. And on the sprockets, it was interesting to note that the way that they said to put it on these old machines, on the old book, is to tighten the nut with a 3-foot cheater bar with the cat spanner wrench and hit it with a sledgehammer, which explains the sledgehammer marks in the sprocket.
Yeah, you hit the sprocket with the... So you run your nut... Keep running your nut up tight so it'll hold. And then I guess you put something around here and hit it with the sledge, I guess.
Well,
I wouldn't put the nut up. I'd pound it on and then put the nut on.
I'm pretty confident in how we put them on. Looks like if you look on this side of this, that this has been hit with a hammer too.
Yeah. That's probably how they
installed it the same way.
Put them back on.
So this is where your bellows seal rides inside of here.
There's that cork. Oh, look, this one's broke there.
Yeah, it was leaking. So I just went and got my pry bar and put in here. And that thing's loose. It just slides back and forth.
And that's how you adjust your bearing tension.
Okay. Now we can sleep tonight. It didn't really make sense to us.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So we have to loosen ours up on our new set.
Yeah, but we can press it on first and set this after. In fact, that's how they show to do it in the book. Once you have actually the pillow block and everything on, then you set it.
So as you tighten this up, it pulls this into the bearing on the inside and outside.
Yes, and this is where this is your outer bearing that sits in this race right here.
There you go. Beautiful.
All right, show everybody on the camera. Let me see. So yeah, that just press fits in there.
Ah, okay. There's a dowel up here too, see?
Oh. And, oh,
Right
yep.
there.
Right there, there's a groove.
And I see these work just like I thought, although they're not a flat. It's machined.
I was wondering what kept this from turning. So this gets adjusted by this big nut over here and sets the preset. And there's the little dowel right there that keeps that from turning when you turn the dowel.
Well, and what locks it
or the nut
is watch here. They have a flat washer and lock.
We were wondering what these locked, what exactly loosening those does, and right there you can see.
Yeah.
So when you loosen that...
it lets it slide. And as you tighten the nut, it pulls it down in.
It snugs it up, this dowel keeps it from twisting, and that's how you adjust your bearing preload.
Now we know.
Yeah.
Thank you, 7J.
Yeah, 7J, you gave us a cadaver to experiment with. Cool. All right. Well, we're not so confused at the moment.
Yeah, you can see the witness mark right there where it was.
Yep.
See there?
Oh, yeah.
And then on the other side, right there.
That actually clears a lot of this up for us. I was wondering how that worked the whole time.
Which means we've got to loosen those up on ours and tap them back.
Yes.
Before we go on. So.
Well, we can put it together.
Yeah.
And then after it's pressed on, we can set the bearing.
Oh, it's got a... Oh, look, they've got a seal in here, too. Look.
Oh, look at that. It's got a little bitty seal.
A little fiber seal is recessed in there.
Keep oil from getting in there. Now that we know how to do it, we're going to loosen these ones up here for Lefty. Working on making some gaskets that go in here, and I'm going to make some out of cork. This is about 3/16 inch wide, and I don't have anything, and I can't find anything that's going to be the correct thickness. So, what we're going to do is take this 16th inch cork gasket material and glue it to this 1/8 inch cork gasket material in a strip all along here. Let it set overnight. We're going to glue it with some RTV silicone sealant, and after it's cured, we can just take a X-Acto knife and a straight edge and cut it to the length that we need to go all the way around there. That's about the right thickness we're going to need. We'll let it sit overnight with this weight on it and compressed, and cut it out after it cures. And while we're waiting for all that to dry, I'm going to cut out a few more of these gaskets that need to go up against the bellows seals. Got the cork gaskets made for the bellows seals, and these are the two that go between the bellows seals and the giant nut to adjust the bearings. And these are the thin ones that belong up on the sprocket side behind the washer that the bellows seal will ride on. I'm going to work on these gaskets for the outside bearing cage on the final drive. And to cut this cork, you were probably wondering how it's going to cut it so thin. My wife, in her sewing and quilting years, she has a really cool tool here that is super sharp and a straight edge, and I can cut this really thin. And I just cut the end off just to square up our work, and it cut very easily with this tool. And as you can see right there, that's going to be about the right width that we're going to need. It's going to work perfectly. I think that's about perfect.
Yeah, I think so. We don't want it too far out, or it'll just...
All it has to do is make contact here.
Right.
That's good. This was a great idea. I'm glad it's working.
I think it will work fine.
And we got our seam up towards the top. So down in the bottom, it'll have a solid piece of cork. And we're going to put a little silicone where they join. That turned out really well. So that cork's in here. We're going to let this kind of cure a little bit. We're going to put a little grease on here when we put these back together, where that cork rides against this nut, so that it will let it move a little bit. And we're ready to put this thing together and push those on. We're going to put a little grease on everything, especially these pins and this race, because it needs to be able to slide back and forth, in and out. So we'll put a little grease on this surface so that it'll have some movement. We're getting ready to install our bellows seals for this outer race, and these are going to use the same exact adapter that we made for the inside ones inside the sprocket, and that's about a 1/2 inch spacer to accommodate these TD6 or TD9 seals. Same thing as we did before.
There it goes.
You got to be real careful that these are lined up in here.
Yeah.
Otherwise this will want to hang up. You just put a little bit of grease around this cork gasket we put on here, so that when we put this nut on these threads here, and that nut's what's going to screw in and out and change the load, preload on the bearings, and that surface will contact this surface of this nut right here. This is for new race. Dad's getting a little lubriplate. We're going to throw it on that bearing and stick it in here. We just installed our bearing on here, and we used an old piece of a turbo coupler that fit perfectly on the inside of the bearing to put that on. And we're going to test fit everything before we go on the rest of the way. There we go.
Yeah, that's
perfect.
Pretty nice. It gives full pins on this one, doesn't it?
Yeah, the dowels are good and engaged.
Yeah.
I put the thinner gasket behind there, and this is a brand new surface area for the bellows seal to ride on.
Get my pins fairly close. There they go, right there.
Okay, are you in?
Yeah, they're in. It's in.
We just put some grease on the bellows seal.
I hope I'm close with the key. Must have been.
Got a fella here in the driveway that's on his way. Bull snake. Go get some mice, buddy. He's not happy with me. So my first iteration of this puller is not going to work because I don't have enough room to get this push plate in here inside of that. And I should have thought about that a little bit more, but we're thinking about another option here, and that is welding a plate to here and actually pushing on here. We're back on the welding bench. I'm going to weld this old nut on here, and I've got this pin in here to protect the threads. Got that nut welded on there? I think that should hold. Okay, and we're just going to push with the surface of this onto the surface of this, rather than press inside of these holes with the bolts. Give it a little bit of a more consistent push. If everything's correct, this nut should screw onto that axle shaft there.
See if you can get it started. You think you got it? No.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yep, we're on it now.
You think?
Yeah. That's the only design flaw of this. Well, that's the biggest design flaw of this. Okay. Alright.
This one started. Okay, there's a full nut. Pull it back. Okay, what you're going to have to do is turn it. I'll have to turn it out here.
Okay. Well,
to start it.
On
Go
the
ahead.
next one, I think when we take this apart, I'm going to just put the bolts in from the other direction. Then we don't have to fight that.
It's working. Yeah, it's going. This could be a little lower.
Well,
You're hitting
there.
down a little more. There, that's good.
Now we're just tightening up these bolts here, and it's pushing it on. So, because that puck only has like a little bit over a half an inch of throw.
Yeah, you said a half an inch, so.
Then this will help take up a lot of the space before we even need to bother with it. This looks like a tool that was repurposed.
Yeah.
All of our tools. All right, here we go.
Now,
Got some pressure.
you got resistance already?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm going to release it and see if it's going to hold.
That was just spring in the tool.
Yeah. Did it move?
A little tiny bit. Well, they loosened right up.
Did they?
Yeah, they're just finger tight now.
Really? Interesting.
Here. Let me.
This will be the moment of truth if that springs back now, which it didn't look like it did.
It did.
Oh. Well, let's unscrew this.
Didn't work.
Something is holding us up or binding us.
Yep. And I think this collar is bottoming out.
Well, it can't bottom out.
Or our bearing.
Our bellows spacer. We tried a little something different here. I backed the adjustment nut off because we were kind of wondering if maybe our race was hitting the bearing and stopping it from pressing it on all the way. So I backed it off, and we're going to try and give it another try. I don't know. We're kind of at a loss right now, but hopefully got it figured out. We're just going to give it a little bit, but I don't think we're correct yet. We're not doing something right. This is going easy yet.
Yeah, you've went some.
We're further than we were before. Alright, well, look out, I'm going to give it a couple more. It's still pressing pretty easy.
Now it's hard, ain't it?
No. Still going easy.
I wouldn't do that anymore. If you're tight, you're approaching your 20 tons on that.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and back it off.
Watch your puck don't fall out. If it does happen to stay.
Which
it just popped back off.
Yeah, it didn't stay. It did not stay.
We're bottoming out on something.
You think our bellows is holding it? Well, we suspect we've figured out our problem. So we're not going to get those pressed on here today. In fact, I think we're going to have to pull the sprockets back off of here because, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, we're not afraid to show our mistakes here. And this one's kind of a doozy, isn't it, Dad?
Yeah. But you live and learn, I guess.
But we have the tooling we need, and we know what to do. So we're at least that far ahead. When we made the spacers to space these out, they're actually a little bit too big. And not only the ones on the outside, but the ones on the inside between the sprockets. So we're going to pull those sprockets off again, and you can see how Dad is so thrilled about that right now. But we're going to pull the sprockets off again and take these over on the lathe and take them down. How much did we thinking?
I think 150 thousandths, because what we discovered is those new type bellows only have 330 thousandths of an inch give.
And what was happening when we were trying to press these on is they were bottoming out. So that's why we could never get them pressed on. And it kind of compounded the situation that the ones on the inside of there are also probably bottoming out as well. So we're not even sure we got the sprockets pressed on enough. So we're going to pop them off on the next episode and start from scratch. I do want to thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
I knew you'd cut it too small.
What do you mean?